Going on, guys? Little garden report situation. Why not?
Off-season
CBA,
edition.
CBA, an assistant coach. Oh my God, that's a big deal.
Huge deal.
Um, well, it's so funny the amount of the heavy lifting being required of assistant coaches in the Boston sports market these days. Like the
Isn't it crazy?
saviors, Sam Cassell, Bill O'Brien, are gonna, turn
How far
water
we've
into
fallen.
wine here.
I mean, it's the head coach. Is the biggest off season for head coaches. So I guess it makes sense.
If you think Sam Cassell is what is putting them over the top next year, I gotta tell you. But good hire. Not to disparage it. Great. I still think you need more. You're gonna lose them all. I
Hey,
don't want
Charles Lee's coming too. I hope.
to. Is that
Here's the thing about the Sam Cassell hire.
That doesn't help.
I love the hiring, but here's the thing. As soon as the Celtics go on like a 2-game losing streak, like that's when you're going to start hearing everyone say they need to make Cassell head coach. So there's going to be an ongoing, like there's almost like a borderline distraction, I feel like, all year until or if they ever do fire Missoula. So again, Josue, I am telling you that is going to happen as soon as the
I think
Celtics.
they have to hover. I think they have to hover around 500 for that.
No,
for that
Brett. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the point is, if the Celtics come slow out of the gates, or if they're underperforming, it is going to be a constant talking point.
Well, that might actually be part of the consideration, Jimmy, if they find out that it's not.
Listen, I'm fine with it. I wish they hired him as the head coach, to be completely honest.
This is pressure for Joe. A little job security right here. I like that.
It is.
It's a little bit of I mean, it's the perfect even ground, I think. And I said this on my report between, like you said, Jimmy, Joe looking over his shoulder and actually having support, which, I don't think you wanted. Well, obviously you'd love all the support in the world, but I don't think you wanted too much pressure where Frank Vogel's behind him or someone who's actually got the head coaching experience or championships or whatever it might be sitting behind him and just constantly hovering over him. You might be right. I think the fans love Cassell so much. Obviously, judging by our comment sections and everything you've heard this week, that there would be a little bit of noise if they're struggling early on. But
obviously, says Washburn should be an assistant.
If they go 0-1, it'll start. The Cassell noise.
Yeah, thank you, John.
You don't need to wait till be 500. The first 12-0 run another team goes on and Joe doesn't call a timeout, by the fourth quarter, people will be calling for Sam Cassell.
That's exactly where I'm at with this. And you know what? Good. I don't really care because
But you needed that. What are you going to have, a bunch of children? Like, you needed an experience. This is as good a veteran as you're going to get. I questioned whether or not.
You didn't think they were going to get anyone, John.
I didn't think they were going to get a guy with past NBA head coaching experience and aspiring to get another NBA job to come in and carry Joe's clipboard. I didn't see that. Like a guy who's like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm an assistant to this guy. Like, no offense, but like, I should be the guy, obviously.
Well, you know what?
Like what's his name? Like Vogel. Like the
Vogel
thing.
Vogel
People are like, we'll just get Vogel to be it. Vogel and Silas. No, man. These are like commodities. Like their guys are going to be coaches again. They're not coming in. If you just got fired, maybe because you need to get that stank off you a little bit. So you're assistant for a year. But
which a lot of coaches have done in the NBA.
Realistically, you join a solid situation and a veteran coach where you're really no threat to usurp them. And just kind of get yourself back together and show your value again. I don't know how you show your value here. All you are is like the obvious grown up in the room. It would be a distraction having a coach of that caliber coming in. So Cassell's as good as it gets.
Right, like Doc was never going to happen.
Cassell's a 14-year assistant. I do want to ask you guys why. What is it about him that he can't get over that hump? He's got the championship pedigree as a player, and he's now this is his 15th year as an assistant.
Is that true? That's crazy.
Yeah, remember he did it right after the championship.
He's been an assistant for 14 years.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, John, I couldn't answer that. I have no idea. I don't know if he just didn't want to be head coach right away, or if that's been his goal.
He's interviewed. He had a shot at the Sixers
right away, though. I mean,
yeah.
You can't tell me that Missoula, for some reason, is that much more qualified as a head coach to be the head coach. A year after sitting as an assistant in the NBA, but that's just the way it happened for Cassell. But this is a great situation for him. He goes to a city that is obviously fond of him for the championship. So you're going to have fans of all different ages right off the bat. He goes into a situation where, listen, he's not stupid. He knows the situation that he's coming into, whether or not he's going to admit that or not. There's a real opportunity for him to get that head coaching job if things go south here. Or at least put him in the driver's seat as a front runner, right? So he gets some experience with these players. And if the Celtics do fall short of, realistically, a championship here, there's a good opportunity for him to take over as head coach, if the Celtics, quote unquote, underperform again like they did this year. So I think it's a good move for him. I don't know why he wasn't, or was he a lead candidate in Philly once Doc left? I don't know. Probably.
He interviewed in Philly when Doc got the job.
I feel like he was in the mix during the Ime.
And he's been in the mix. He gets interviews. His name comes up a ton in the last 4 or 5 years. But he has not broken through.
Well, I think this is a good opportunity for him. There's obviously a history. I'm sure Wick is fond of him as well.
This is the best opportunity.
Sure. So we'll see what happens.
It's like being VP for like a 90-year-old president. You're just like, boo.
It's a very real possibility, actually.
Right.
So yeah, good hire. But yeah, do they need to do more? Absolutely. But this is, like you guys said, a great start. And as far as like overvaluing assistant coaches, yeah, it's a sad reality that we have right now in Boston. We have a bunch of head coaches that really have no business being head coaches anymore, and these assistants are being overvalued and hyped up by the media and by everybody else. It's almost just like a prayer. It's like, just say it enough and maybe it'll come true that Bill O'Brien will save the Patriots. And same with Sam Cassell. Time will tell. But realistically, the head coach at the end of the day is, the guy who calls the shots, and they're gonna go as far as, obviously it's the players take them, but the head coach is the one calling the shots there. But yeah, it can only help.
When you were deficient in that area, though, it's a level up, and they were last year. They lost.
Yeah, because they lost them and they didn't get anybody. It was, you don't even see that. Usually you refill those roles, especially with a rookie head coach. So that was really, if you want to take shots at Stevens, that's got to be one of the things you got to take shots at him for, is leaving those vacancies at the coaching position.
Well, he said they tried in that presser that you loved, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Anyway, real quick, I want to point out that Jimmy's wearing a phenomenal T-shirt.
Yeah,
that should be seen by all.
Looks good.
I want to let people know here. There's some people impatient want to talk about certain things like Jaylen Brown. We're going to get there. Not only are we going to get there, we're going to frigging infuriate most of you, I'm sure, by putting up trade proposals that everyone's going to say, that's friggin' ridiculous.
Well,
we got time.
We're going to be trolling.
So we're going to troll the F out of you guys with a few Jaylen Brown proposals.
Let me get the comment section.
Some have been thrown out there by some people in the media. Some are just kind of piecing together, stuff that's been talked about, kicked around, or might seem feasible. Some are, almost every one of them I kind of view as a step back, in the sense of, you're not getting a Jaylen Brown caliber player back for Jaylen Brown, I don't believe. Some people want to look at a Lillard trade or a Beal trade or something like that. I just don't think that that's what's going to happen.
You need a trade demand.
The point of it is, you're trying to get less expensive and more flexible. You're trying to add more pieces that might make you better than just what Jaylen Brown brings you on his own, given the penalties with the CBA, which, Bobby, I'm still convinced has not fully grasped the full scope of how bad this is. Because I do want to say, we are going to get into that a little bit. It's really bad. And I actually think that the Jaylen trade sentiment, and I know everybody's got, the recency bias, having seen him play the way that he did, here as the Celtics got knocked out by Miami. I think people are starting to kind of wrap their heads around, like, this might have to happen. And you're seeing quite a few people jump ship, where that would have seemed unthinkable middle of the year, with all of you friggin' knuckleheads screaming at us to talk about Jaylen every single game. I feel like a lot of people are changing their tune a little bit here about what's going to happen. I think some people also think the Jaylen Brown situation is a fait accompli. They offer him the Supermax and they figure it out later. That's very possible too. So I'm not sure which way it goes. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the CBA, and we'll hang out here. We'll listen.
We're going to talk about Chris Paul,
and we'll talk a little bit about Chris Paul.
I'm getting a lot of heat for my tweet for some reason.
Why?
A lot of people don't want Chris Paul. where I
was
said
Chris
that I
Paul
think the Celtics
actually
have
waived?
to.
Was he waived or not?
He's going to be waived.
He's going to be.
Fine, then I
Was he
can put
waived or
this
not? It was
up.
on Twitter. It has to be true.
Chris Paul is gonna be waived. Well, it sounds like they might look for ways to move him creatively. Could be a trade, could be some sort of situation. But Chris Paul's time in Phoenix is over. And, like every single high profile player that's ever made available, every team is going to be like, what about us? Josue and Jimmy are geeked about it.
Listen,
right?
I mean, geeked is a strong word.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
I think listen, and the main reason
Come on, get excited.
A lot of chatter on Twitter on my tweet, for me anyways, and a lot of people are saying he's 38, he gets hurt a lot. You already have 3 point guards. Listen,
he's also a dink.
I know. That's what's hard is that I actually don't like the guy,
and like nobody likes to be around him ever.
But
Tatum wouldn't mind. Who wouldn't mind the dink?
John,
you got about a 1-2 year shelf life with him. You're right.
That's it. And also you're getting
anything.
He wants to come to a contender. Maybe he takes a bit of a deal.
No, I meant until you get tired of him, Bobby. Not till he stops being able to play.
There's a lot of ifs with my reasoning too. But go
ahead, Jimmy. Finish up. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me. Are we going to talk about Chris Paul now or later?
We're doing it now.
Yeah, look at the graphic.
Then let me.
We're gonna end with the Jaylen Brown stuff. We're gonna get all of our other stuff out of the way, and we're gonna go.
Okay. Listen, I know all the reasons why people don't like Chris Paul. 1, he's a dink. 2, he's 38. 3, he gets hurt probably more often than not. I'll never forgive Chris Paul for what he did to Rondo. Like the back and forth with, I think, Rondo. I'm always a Rondo guy, so I'll always take Rondo over Chris Paul. But listen, you need a guy that's going to pass the ball to get your guys going. I don't want to see point Tatum. I don't want to see point Jaylen. Nobody does. This guy is going to get your guys in the right positions. He's going to run the offense. He's going to get these guys the ball in places that they need him. He's creative. He's crafty, even at 38. I'm not saying he's going to go 40 minutes a game. You still have, you still keep 2 of your guards around him. So you probably get rid of Brogdon or Smart. One of those guys goes, Brogdon or Smart. I'd probably get rid of Brogdon. I'd keep Smart because Smart's a tougher guy. He's kind of the opposite of Paul in that sense. Paul, again, is a little dink. So, again, I love that move. And long-term, this is my long-term play here, longest-term play after this year. I have a huge grand scheme that the Celtics will draft Bronny James, like, at some point, mid to late first.
Hey, you've been teasing that.
And then they will sign LeBron James. LeBron James will come to Boston and play with Chris Paul, Jason Tatum, his son, whoever else is left on the roster. And you've got a couple legitimate veterans in lesser roles who can help you win a championship. LeBron obviously knows what it takes. And Chris Paul hopefully will have one by then because the Celtics will be in position to win next year if they follow my plan. So they signed Chris Paul. By signing Chris Paul, you can still consider a Jaylen Brown trade, but you no longer need to make it about acquiring like a playmaker, a point guard, things like that. And you can include a Brogdon in your trade with Brown and not worry about taking a hit there at the guard position. Thank you for coming to my tech talk.
He starts like 30 games.
Yeah, he probably starts to start the year. But again, 35. I don't get hung up on starters, Bobby. It's all about who finishes, how many minutes they're playing. If you have Smart and White, you can, you almost got point guard by committee right there. So you got options. And again, this is a guy that plays the style of basketball they need at the guard position, who's not looking to score 30 points a game anymore. He's looking to win.
Yeah,
and the other thing is hopefully you can get him at a decent price. Where it's right now, what we're going to get into in a bit is, all these players now are going to cost you an arm and a leg. So he wants to go to a team on a low deal. Then
that's the biggest hit right there for me. Like if he's willing to take low, obviously the minimum or somewhere near that, less money than he's ever taken before, given the fact that he'll be able to compete for a championship out in the East. And obviously the Celtics, they're not going to play him every single night. You have to conserve him and hope that he's going to be okay to play throughout the postseason. I mean, if anything, they somewhat learned that from Michael Brogdon, but just the history of Chris Paul will tell you that's, the likelihood of him not being able to go throughout the whole postseason is very high. So you have to be careful with that, obviously. And with that being said, I mean, Chris Paul would have to
treat him like they treated Rob Williams, Josue. Sorry to cut you off. Go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, something like that, Jimmy. Actually, yeah, that's actually pretty good. I mean, I just think it's obviously, less money, coming in here to compete with these guys and give these guys direction. I really do believe this team, when at its core, they yearn for direction, and Chris Paul is that guy. He's not looking to take all the shots. He's not looking to take over. He's trying to help everyone be better, help the team be better. So those guys can always help this team. And if that's the case, then you got to go all in, though, Jimmy. I mean, that's the thing. You can't trade Jaylen, or you can't. I mean, unless this guy wants. I guess he wants out, but I'd be surprised if he does, because someone like Chris Paul just kind of changes things. It kind of makes them really look at themselves in the mirror and say, look, are we going to do this or not? Like, this is it. I mean, this guy's, he's not here to babysit us. You know what I mean? So I do think it'll apply that type of pressure, along with, someone that's going to get in their faces, right, when they're not doing the right thing. They need that. Without that, you get a lot of what we saw last year, especially in late game moments, late game situations. And Sam Cassell also helps with that too, right? He's not afraid to get in people's faces and be as animated as he's always has been. And he's been around guys, this generation for a long time in that role to be that guy. So that's expected. He knows how to connect with players. And I think that in Boston, it'll be no different. But yeah, with Chris Paul, if it's short money, if it's a situation where the Celtics can afford it, and he's down for that
2-year deal,
I think it's worth the risk. I really do.
Yeah, if you're leaning into the 3-point identity too, great shooter. Yeah, I thought he was excellent as a catch and shoot guy last year, especially in the playoffs. I think he was around 37 during the year, so that'd be an immediate upgrade on a Smart at that position. I don't love the idea of pushing Smart to the side, though, in general for him.
It's time, Bobby. I like Marcus a lot, but like,
you move him?
No, listen, you just gotta let go at some point. Like, everything about Marcus is great.
So you get rid of Brown
you just
gotta
let go of this notion that Marcus Smart is the starting point guard of this team and giving the team and the offense and the Jays what they need. I don't want to debate it anymore. I don't want people to just be like, send me clips of like an assist and be like, see, like, it's just not it. There's the two conversations with Marcus Smart. He's freaking awesome. Everything about Marcus Smart is great. Everyone should be so lucky to have a Marcus Smart on your team. I don't want him to be my starting point guard. Both of those things are true. So this idea of moving on from Smart, like, you can move on, okay? Marcus Smart is great, but you keep running into this wall because you don't have anybody who can demand the ball and make sure that the people out here are doing stuff.
Will Paul be able to do that, though?
Of course, he's freaking the best. He's like a top 5 point guard in history.
He'll do it from the bench, Bobby. That's how into it he gets.
And he has clout, Bobby. He has clout.
The guys have been watching him since they were kids.
The problem is, I think you needed him. I don't know that the problem is just, I think you waited 2 years too long. When he was out there and people thought he was toast, couple years before he went to the Suns, and he was totally gettable that offseason, Bobby. And the
year he went to Phoenix, or even the Thunder.
The year he went to, right, he was gettable, and nobody wanted it. Yes, he would have made a difference. I don't know anymore, so I don't know that it's the answer. But again, I don't know. I'm not friggin' falling over myself to bring in Chris Paul. But the idea that Marcus Smart can't be moved on from, I don't think is
fine.
Right.
But if
I'd rather be younger, so I'm not super into this. I'm really not.
I'm looking to get. I'm looking. Yeah, sure, I get that, but you also need veterans on this team, John. That's what they're drastically.
They have
lacking.
some. They have a lot. Next year is year 7 and 8 for Brown and Tatum.
Those aren't the veterans I'm talking about. I'm talking.
You have Marcus
unfortunately,
Smart. You have Al Horford. You have Malcolm Brogdon. They're veterans.
Yeah, none of them got it done. Yeah, Bobby, if you bring
Brogdon's
it,
not getting people.
One of them's gone.
They're veterans.
Brogdon's not getting people faces, and that's probably the best trade piece.
Like a Haslam.
What do you want, Haslam?
Yeah.
There's 2 issues I have here.
Older the better, Jimmy.
Obviously, one.
I want somebody. Never mind. Go.
I think we know Paul isn't the same. I mean, they're eating $15 million a wave Paul, and if he was good, I don't think they'd be doing that. Cap.
Right. It is a little strange.
Well, they're a little fed up, guys. I mean, it's been a few years.
If you can get him for short money, again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Again, I mean, Get rid of one of the guards. If it's Marcus, fine. If it's Brogdon, fine. We already know Pritchard wants to go, so he's already out the door anyway. So who cares?
I hate this notion to get rid of.
The Phoenix Suns have a longer list of problems.
So to make room for a minimum guy who's 38, you're just gonna get rid of someone like this whole. I keep seeing people say,
it's gonna make sense, but you can shore up another position, or if you package him again. If we're talking about getting rid of Jaylen, you might need to package.
But even before the news came out, Bobby, I'm in the camp of trying to shop. Malcolm Brogdon around just to see what you got out there.
I don't like that. I'm gonna loop that right in with that because I keep seeing people talk about that. Why does Brogdon need to go all of a sudden?
Because he doesn't play deep into the playoffs. He doesn't like to play basketball in June.
Because one of the 3 guards has to go. That's
that too.
No, period.
No, period. Yeah. This is before the Chris Paul thing.
You need to start moving some stuff around, and chances are you're going to have to look to trade one of these 3 guys. We thought they were a redundancy to begin last year. They are, but now you've also got money issues as well. So you're probably going to need to move off one of these guys. It just doesn't make sense to have it. Again, Bobby, this is where you and I argue about stuff like draft picks. You want to trade 7 of them every time somebody bats his eye at you, and I'm like,
John's like, this is why. This is why.
This is why every player on your team can't make 20. You wanted to give Grant 20. You're just handing out $20 million checks to every player you like. It doesn't work that way. You can't do it. And now this new CBA is really going to mess with things. So it's not that Brogdon's bad. I think, again, there's a lot of recency bias with what we saw last. Brogdon was freaking awesome this year. I think a guard has to go. I think everybody's on the Derek White train right now. Smart is that guy that people just have a really tough time letting go of. So it defaults to Brogdon. He's new and he broke down recently.
No, that's how this
works. And that's all that's happening.
People in the comment section, guys, he was injured. He's always effing injured, guys. Like, that's the problem.
Easy, Joe.
Brogdon
he was 6th man of the year this year. He couldn't have been that.
That was kind of a freaky injury, though.
Yeah, but it's been the story of his career. What do you think? You think he's getting younger, guys? Like, this is going to happen again, especially after the season that he had where he played a lot and he was fine for most of it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
the
postseason, he doesn't go deep into the playoffs. It just doesn't happen. His body doesn't respond.
I think a lot of people are fine moving off on a guard and giving Pritchard some minutes and then just being a little cheaper.
Pritchard's gone, dude. Pritchard's gone. He's already said he doesn't want to be back.
He's not gone. They're gonna DeBrusque Pritchard this year. Okay, they're gonna make.
Yeah, he just wants to roll.
No, because they need a new coach to DeBrusque him.
I totally get the money implications, John, but I can't believe that we went from, and you said this yourself, they need to find some guys that make it so you never have to play Pritchard and Grant again. Then they find that guy, he plays amazing, and now just because there's no other straightforward move, it's like, get rid of Brogdon. For what? Here's the thing you got to consider.
I said you need guys to push those guys further down the rotation, and I don't disagree there. But again, if you're moving pieces, and especially if you end up doing something with Jaylen, you're going to bring in more guys. All I'm saying is, as your third guard, as your third point guard, you could do worse than Pritchard, especially if they had addressed wing depth at that point.
Just bring the whole team back. Forget it. Just bring the whole team back. That's it, right? Keep Pritchard.
I mean, remember what Pritchard looked like in the 2022 playoffs?
Well, then, Bobby, how do you improve this?
Sign Grant.
Who are you trading outside? Let's just forget about Jaylen for a second. Like, he's your best piece.
You can't do much. I mean, you're probably gonna have to do some sort of Grant Pritchard trade if you want to bring in one salary that's actually gonna be able to play, and it might not even be as good as Grant, like a PJ Washington maybe. Something like that. I don't even know if that's possible, but
see, that's the thing with Brogdon. You can get the same value or maybe a little less, but it's not going to be a huge drop off. I don't know if you can do the same thing.
I think if you're moving him, it's a money dump. I mean, the Pacers just got Tyson Nesmith, so that's the kind of stuff you're getting for him. I think
it's possible. But again, let's get into some of the trades.
John said if you're doing in conjunction with other moves, it makes sense to me. I just don't think you look at this offseason and say the move is to trade Pritchard and that's it. I'm not Pritchard.
What would you rather have? Okay, fine. And I kind of agree with you, Bobby. I'm not looking to trade Brogdon.
You love Brogdon, Jimmy. You're his biggest fan.
Of course I do. And I would trade Smart if the other team was like, oh, would rather have Smart. Okay, fine. But do I know what it's for? No. But I have serious issues bringing this entire team back together again. John wants to keep the bench intact. It sounds like. I mean, he wants to come back 13
No,
strong.
I just want to get cheaper. That's all. I just want to get. I just want them to be a little bit cheaper and more flexible. I just don't think you can be handing out $20 million to a bunch of different people. You cannot have a roster that way. You're going to be expensive without able to do anything to improve yourself, and getting older. You're just losing flexibility. You really needed younger, controllable players on rookie deals on this team that you can actually, and they don't have. And that's why a lot of the trades, this is why for 2 years, all of my Jaylen trades were trade him for something cheaper, younger, controllable, plus assets, and reload. And again, I keep coming back to that same premise. So if you're going to be doing that, I do think that's what you need to do. You need a little bit more flexibility. Seeing that you're going to lose Grant, can you trade Brogdon for 2 younger pieces and have a little bit more roster flexibility there, and not have a redundancy at the guard position right now where you have 3 good ones and then one guy who people are begging to give minutes to, who's sitting there demanding a trade because you never gave him. He had a role, then he didn't have a role. I don't know. So real quick, we're going to get into some of the Jaylen stuff after. First off, tell you about FanDuel, official sponsor of the NBA playoffs and the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. If you sign up today at FanDuel.com/Boston, you can take advantage of a no sweat first bet. That means you lose $1,000 in bonus bets coming back to you. Terrific offer. In addition to that, super easy to download app. Lots of different promotions going on even after this initial one when you sign up, that kind of keep you interested and keep you engaged all the time. Best off, you get paid right away. So again, FanDuel.com/Boston. Get a no sweat first bet of up to $1,000 in bonus bets if you lose your first bet. Once again, FanDuel.com/Boston, the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. We'll also tell you about Athletic Greens. Make sure you go get yourself some AG, athleticgreens.com/garden. Take advantage of a special gift you see on the screen there with 5 free travel packs and a year supply of vitamin D.
D, yes.
I almost said C.
Yeah.
Vitamin D.
C is a dime a dozen. D is the good stuff.
D is the good stuff. Terrific supplement. Keeps you from having to go get a million different
I take it every day.
pills and supplements. Take it every single day. 1 scoop, cup of water, done. Takes care of everything you want. Your immune system, your recovery, clarity, focus, gut health. That doesn't take care of your adaptogens, Jamie. You just like saying adaptogens. It kind of does. When you think about it.
Trust me on this one.
When you think about it. Check out Athletic Greens and go get yourself. Jimmy's got a phenomenal T-shirt. You can get yourself a Garden Report T-shirt. I
have the OG T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. We're back to Jaylen Brown on the whole Supermax extension thing.
By the way.
Should they look to Supermax him? Should they look to trade him? Just once around the horn here, after the benefit of like a week or two.
This is one of the toughest calls.
Short answer. Do you need to move off of him, Josue? Do you need to look to move off of him or sign in the Supermax? If you're the GM, what are you doing first? Are you just sending him an offer sheet and saying, sign it, I'm so happy, and I'll deal with it later? Or are you looking to make a move?
Ooh, Josue on the hot
seat you
first.
Yes, I'm asking you. My mic doesn't work.
Oh, his mic actually doesn't.
Can you guys not hear me?
Oh, he wants me to go now because he shut his mic off?
No. He's afraid. No, I'm not going until Josue talks. Go.
I'll go.
Don't unmute yourself. Don't pretend.
Wow.
So what's the question?
Is that the coward way out, John?
I can't. Is your mic really not working? What happened to you?
It's not working.
He's out of here. Bobby.
What's the question?
Keep him or no?
It muted, it said. Maybe it's unmuted.
What do you mean it muted? Did you mute or it muted?
You still can't hear him.
How about now? This is criminal right now.
This is the biggest drum roll in the history of drum rolls.
Are you giving him the Supermax and worrying about it later or not?
Oh, there we go.
Josue, go.
Jeez, it was stuck on mute for like 75 seconds. Yeah. I swear.
Okay. You have to think about it.
You got to see what's out there. I just don't feel great about it, honestly. I don't think any of the package deals out there is enough for the Celtics to pull the trigger. But you have to see what's out there.
We don't know what's out there. What I'm saying is, are you shopping him or are you giving it to him?
Oh, I'm shopping him. I got to find out what's out there first.
I'm shopping Bobby.
So that's it, Joe. So he's gone. You're saying
you're trading
him.
Not yet.
No, it's fine. I like that. That's all we're saying.
That's your choice. You just chose.
What about you,
him.
Bobby? Shopping or giving him the extension and worrying about it later?
My only worry about shopping him is what happened last year. The frustration the frustration over the Durant talks, and obviously there's no Durant out there this year.
Yeah, but they got $300 million to make it better.
Yes, so you do have to look.
If it's just a Durant summer, it'll be different.
You have to see what's out there. You have to think of every possible way, obviously, given the CBA implications into the future. And then, we can debate the different packages.
So yes or no?
Yeah, you have to.
You have to look. Jimmy?
Yeah, you got to trade him. If you sign him to the Supermax, he becomes...
Jimmy said you have to trade him. That's not the question. But
that's fine. He's taking it one step further.
No, Jimmy's like, pick a trade and
yeah, I mean, that ultimately, I think that's what's going to
I'm there too, Jimmy. I'm with you. I'm at option C, trade at all costs. I've reached that.
Really?
I don't think Jaylen Brown's good enough to be the highest paid player in the NBA. And that's
what if you could sign him for less than a Supermax? Is that even, you guys wouldn't do it?
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does that.
I mean,
if that's the case, Josue, then I would obviously listen and consider it. I don't know how much lower he would go. I've seen enough, I think. Listen, Jaylen Brown's the type of player that you'll trade him and he will be continue to be a perennial all-star on that team. But it's just not working, I don't think, enough where I would give him the Supermax here along because you got to give it to Jason Tatum, I think, right? Obviously, you're not going to just trade both these guys. And I think if you have to choose one or the other, for me, it's Tatum. And based on the way the CBA is now, I really do think you'd be handcuffing yourself. And you're going to have 60+% of your salary tied into those two guys, and you're going to be penalized to the point where you can't even trade out of that. So it's not an easy decision. I mean, it's not like I want to see the guy go. I know he's a great player. I just feel like
Jimmy, what you think?
They got to get whatever they can. To be honest, knowing what we know now, obviously, I think they should have done it last year. You would have got a lot more than you're probably going to get this year. But I still feel like you get what you can. Try to get younger in some capacity, like John said, more controlled contracts. Maybe you can even get a pick, and if you hit on that pick, now you're in business. You can sort of you're not gonna reset, but you're gonna revamp sort of on the fly here, and maybe you can bring in a veteran or two that can round out that roster. But that's my choice. I'm pretty firm on that right now. I'm not in love with Jaylen Brown, and I'm certainly not in love with signing him to a Supermax deal. I don't think he's earned it.
Yeah. All right. So we all agree you got to look. You got to at least look. I think you have to be a little bit aggressive, actually. And I think you may not love the deal you're getting, but you have to look at it a couple different ways. If you look at the economic reality of things, you have to look at it as not only what you're getting, but what you'll be losing or what you can no longer get if you keep him. And those things they're not going to be part of a deal, but it is part of the deal. Okay. If trading for him allows you to sign someone else, make trades for other people because you're not going to be in that double tax apron, all of that has to factor in. And I think it's so freaking punitive. But basically you go over that double tax apron, that you can't do anything except for one. You can only do 1-for-1 swaps at almost at the same money,
which isn't going to help you.
Yeah, you can't take on added salary. You can't do 2-for-1s. You can't enter the buyout market. You can't do mid-level. You can't do taxpayer mid-level. You can't trade out future picks. They're literally trying to kill you. Like they just don't want Golden State Clippers and these friggin', super ridiculous billionaires just doing whatever they want with impunity. And the Celtics are being caught up in the wash here. So since we all agree we're gonna think about it. Let's throw out some stuff that's been either thrown out on the internet by some people, or we kind of just piece together based on some chatter, and tell us if you like it or don't like it. The number one thing we've talked about, the proposed Blazers trade, kind of floated by Kevin O'Connor. I saw this on one other site as well. in order to make money work. O'Connor had mentioned Simons and that number 3 pick. Nasir Little would kind of round that out. I saw somebody else kind of throwing that in there for Jaylen Brown. This is an interesting one that we've debated already on the show, but I'm just going to go once around the horn here and get a sense of whether or not this is something that people would be at all interested in.
Who goes first?
Me.
You. Josue.
I don't love it. I think it'll be more.
We need to see it again.
It would be more so about the.
See it again?
The pick. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I think it would be.
This is my favorite. Everyone's gonna hate it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I just don't think it's not enough security for you to think that this team can build off of that in a quicker than another trade, right? I'm just not crazy about these guys. I mean, the pick is huge. It puts themselves in a good position to get a guy that's going to be around for a while, someone that they can build with. But I'm not crazy about Simons and putting him in that position. And Little's a good piece, but it just doesn't do it for me.
I'm actually okay with it. I mean, again, this goes back to what John said. Like, you're not going to get a superstar for Jaylen Brown, right? So you get a guy in Simons who, again, he's going to be making a lot less. He's under control for the next few years. Little is that piece. And then I'll be honest, I don't know enough about this year's draft to even have this discussion on who they should take at 3. Maybe that's something Bobby is a little bit more up on. Or
if Scoot's there, it's Scoot. But if it's not, it's probably there's a couple other potential.
So again, this goes back to what we were saying, where it's like you don't have a Scoot or whoever the hell right now on this team, and you're not going to get one unless you really hit gold because you don't have a pick up that way. So it's not like a beautiful trade where you're like, oh my God, the Celtics got Simons and Little and a pick. Most casual fans would say, who the hell did they just get? But that's kind of probably more along the lines of what you're looking at here. And again, I understand that. And I'm still saying, again, and what John said
and a
earlier
lot of people have Scoot falling to 3 with the Hornets not taking him if they hold on to LaMelo and them possibly.
I wonder if that's legit though.
I don't know, but them possibly going with Brandon Miller, you've seen as well. And even if not, you're telling me you wouldn't be intrigued by Brandon Miller, coming in here. I mean, again, it's just you don't get Celtics do pretty freaking well with the number 3 pick, man. I mean,
that's actually a good point.
I don't think you can undersell how difficult and rare it is to jump up high into the draft like this and be able to get. It's so. I mean, this you could be getting. I mean, obviously there's risk involved here, but I mean, nothing here is going to be a slam dunk. You're not. We're way past the point of trading Jaylen Brown just for stars. That was years ago. He is the star. So if you make a move.
I need a Simons mixtape. I need a Simons mixtape, and I need a mixtape of some of these top draft picks. And
here's another one. Here's another one. Here's one Jimmy Toscano likes.
This is my trade, and yes, this has the star factor. This is probably a trade that everyone's going to.
And this is if Charlotte takes Scoot and says, I'm going to move on from LaMelo. Certain aspects of his game I don't love. Yeah. I don't know if I want to pay him. Maybe these guys want to pay him. Now you've got to decide whether you want to pay LaMelo versus pay Jaylen, and again, he's only getting a second deal, not a third.
Well, that's the key, right?
So it's a different story.
It's probably not Washington either.
It's not. I was messing around with money there.
The key is ball, right? So you get a bigger guard, a guy that, talk about a guy who can't stay healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy either, but I think some of that stuff's been fluky. Sprained ankles, things like that. Listen, I did not like LaMelo Ball at all coming into his career. I thought he was completely overrated. I thought he was a guy that was just in it for the show. But I've been pretty impressed with his game when he is on and when he is healthy. I think he is the right style point guard for this team. I think him and Tatum would be unbelievable together. They'd put on a show. They'd be entertaining as hell, and I think they'd win games. And this is a trade that I think a guy like Wick would like because LaMelo Ball is going to put asses in the seats more than Anthony Simons is going to. So this is a trade that, listen, if Jaylen Brown makes it obvious that he's not re-signing or if he doesn't want to be here, or if the Celtics say, listen, we have to trade this guy and LaMelo Ball is available, I would be stunned if there's a better deal out there. Stunned, because I think LaMelo Ball, he does have all-star potential. And John just said you don't think you're going to be getting a guy that can have perennial all-star potential. I think Ball has that. He just has to stay on the court. And so I think that would be that's more of a fun one, but I think there's a slim chance that it could be.
What did you want? You wanted us to preview Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Nuggets? Like, fuck.
Yeah, I don't see this Hornets trade happening. The money's tricky here.
Play ball, dude. You know, let's go. It's not that. Forget the money. This is all it's the players. It's the players. You like the players. You know,
I think there's a trade both teams. I think it's a trade both teams say no to, probably.
Yeah.
The Portland one's interesting though.
Don't piss on my trade, Bobby. Say more. Say something else.
The Portland one is extremely intriguing. I'm telling you right now.
Just because I think
you are actually not going to.
No. Yes.
You're not going to like Simons is going to fill that secondary scoring role in a way that someone who's a secondary scorer should, without the concern of like, did I get him enough shots and this and that at a fraction of the price? Yeah. You're going to get 80% of the production, 80, and possibly more if he's, whatever, 80% of the production, 90% of the production at 40% of the cost. So of what he's ultimately going to cost, so half the cost. That's the deal. That's why you make it. And plus you could be getting a star if you're able to get that third pick. If that's out there, it's a hard one to.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, John.
You could win that. You could win that pick in such a. You could win that trade. Of course, you can lose it. That trade could be historically good. Like you have a shot at like just blowing the roof off of it.
It could set you back in the short term, though, for sure.
That's what I mean.
And you don't know who will be there.
Most of these do.
But my philosophy is you have to, at this point, if you're considering traded Brown, you're not worried about next year. You're worried about building around Tatum's prime and his next contract. Right. So what you want is in 2 years, if you're treading water or take half a step back, you're still a team that's competing you're competing in the East no matter what. You're building for that prime. You have to be able to be well positioned there to put the best team around Tatum if you've decided you're not moving on with the duo. If you move on with the duo, you're basically saying these two and whoever I put around them will be good enough.
Not necessarily. I mean, you can still take your crack or two at the championship in the short term here because this roster you have might still give you the best.
But this was the best team they had. They're going to go backwards. They're going backwards. If they do nothing, they go backwards because they're going to lose Grant at the very least, and they have no draft picks and no one coming in.
You could potentially bring Grant back, but that's probably more than likely. The one thing I worry about with the Simons is I still want to go back to defense, and this is what frustrates me a little bit about.
Look at this guy
coming back in some way. Oh,
this is Simons, dude.
I can see it.
Copyright, Jimmy.
He's nasty, though. He's nasty. I'm all in on Simons.
He can score.
He's great on offense. Yeah,
he's a really good scorer. He's
the type of guy
that. He's the type of guy you don't watch him a lot, and then you do, and you're like, that guy's pretty good. Like he's.
I was going to ask you if you're watching TV, Jimmy. I could tell you're looking at something.
Amit, being the producer that he is, sent me an unbelievable Anthony Simons mixtape.
Let me, Bobby. Let's rock it through the rest of them. And then get in there, and
I'm still in on. By the way, I'm not.
Everyone's gonna have a favorite. Yeah. Here's one that Brian Barrett put up there, I believe.
Oh God,
a three-way.
These always work out.
Bobby knows what he's talking about.
A three-way trade. Three-way trade.
Oh geez,
I need to read this.
Wrap my head around this.
My brain isn't smart.
So Siakam's coming to the Celtics here?
Yeah, it's a lot.
See, and I'm going to tell you this.
Fultz?
I am dying to get Markelle Fultz. I am not kidding you. And Barrett's rationale was that it was Wagner and Siakam were the draws. I absolutely think Markelle Fultz Wagner is about to turn the corner. Into
just
the guy I want to find a way to get Markelle Fultz on this team.
You just want the story of having Fultz and Tatum on the same team.
I want Markelle Fultz on this team so badly.
You're kind of trading a lot here.
Yeah, but you're getting a lot.
You're getting a lot.
Yeah.
I guess.
Especially between Wagner and
it's a really interesting trade.
Yeah.
I don't know. One team always gets screwed here, and I think the Raptors.
You're getting 3 Magic
close
players.
third.
Like, really, how good are you getting here?
Yeah, but Bobby, those picks though, 2 first rounders.
They're decent
Giving away
picks.
Brown, Smart, and Rob Williams, who, I mean, depending on how you
I love
value
this
him.
trade. I
and
love it.
Raptors-
I don't know
Raptors need
that.
guys like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I do think it actually gives each team something, but the Magic are giving up a lot here. And like we talk about, Brown's got 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah, this would be foolish for them to do this.
Is he resigning it? So they're the team that probably says no here.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm telling you, Jimmy, were you still with us when we
Listen,
when I did
for the
this?
record, I would still do this trade. I'm just saying it just on first look, it just looks like a lot. There's a lot going on. Three-way
The
trades
best trade is the one where you have somebody calling it idiotic and other
Yeah.
people saying, "Oh my God, I love it."
Yeah.
Those are the ones.
Those are the ones.
I love these 3-team trades.
Trades are
'cause one
scary,
team-
guys. Trades are scary. You gotta just jump head first. You can't just dip your toes into a trade. You
The
just gotta
3
go
teams
for
are
it.
funny
Jimmy,
though
were
because
you
it's
with us?
always
This
a
would be
grand
wild
slam
if
for one.
Orlando did this.
Jimmy, were you still with NBC when they drafted Tatum?
Yeah, I was.
Do you remember the fake trade thing we did that summer?
I'm not sure. Probably not,
I launched this segment on TV and digital where we just invented a trade every single day, and it was trading up with Jaylen for stars, trading the 1 pick, and one of them was trading with Philly for 1 versus 3. And every single day, and we would do it as a debate topic on the show, and every single
I actually
day,
don't think I was. Now that I'm thinking, of it. That's probably why I
everybody
didn't see it.
hated everything,
Yeah.
like nonstop, like both sides, both markets. Like people from Philly would be like, "That's the worst thing ever," and Boston would be like, "That's the worst thing." Everybody hates every trade unless they win it resoundingly.
That's it. I mean,
So-
I think a lot of people loved the KG trade, but there were still some nervous Celtics fans to get rid of Al Horford. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was some like that. Yeah, Al
You mean
Jefferson.
Al Jefferson?
Al
You know what?
Jefferson.
You know who's one of those people? I'll remind him time and time again. Cedric Maxwell.
Really?
Yeah,
he was
like,
nervous about that.
he thought it was too much. He thought it was too much for KG, and then he said that one preseason game convinced him. Or was it preseason? May have been the regular season game. Might have been the first game when they crushed the Wizards after Gilbert Arenas guaranteed a victory.
I mean, the stars aligned for that trade to happen. Really, I mean, that was perfect.
So
It
that
doesn't
one's
happen
just,
like that.
that one's interesting as hell. Another one we
That
threw
one's
out there.
interesting for sure.
I've seen people mention like an assets sort of play. This is one where you take a
God.
massive step back. Bobby hates this one.
Bobby does hate this one.
The Rockets.
I don't hate this one.
The last thing you want is any ounce of Rockets DNA.
Yeah, this is like a 2K trade right here.
The Rockets beat the Celtics this year.
Yeah, that's why it's a 2K trade.
It is a 2K trade. Listen, Jalen Green would probably be just as frustrating to watch as any player, but he is very
You'd
talented.
go from Jason and Jalen to Jason and Jalen.
He's very, very talented.
We could
He's
call them the
making
Jays.
peanuts. He's making peanuts. Kevin Porter's a good. I think Kevin Porter's a good, strong, underrated player. And you get a first-round pick, 4th overall. So, and Jaylen Brown goes to see his guy. He may.
I love the reaction.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Me and Joe Sway like the Atlanta one. You got that one?
I don't hate the Houston.
All right, I got. So I've done a million variations on Hawks, and this is the one I stuck with here.
Yeah, I had Hunter in it too, and
I know you had Hunter. I went Murray because again, I think Hunter as the main asset is too.
No, yeah. I went Brown.
It's too Goodman, right?
I went Brown and Brogdon for Murray, Hunter, and Okongwu.
That's too. Yeah, I didn't bother putting Malcolm in any of these. I just looked at Jaylen as a centerpiece. Mm-hmm. I think you have to get Murray coming back, and you have to hope that Murray's next deal is closer to 30 as opposed to him looking for the whatever it is there. Yeah. And that's kind of where you are with it. So. And again, what's interesting is like a lot of people, like the assumption has been for a long time, like, let's just, we've got the money. Let's just max everybody when it's their time. Teams are going to have to start making real tough decisions on guys on those second contracts, right. On whether or not they want to just give them the bag every single time. You're going to see decent players just go. or teams try to work out ways to trade them, because there's going to be a mad scramble for people to move around. Now, we did not suggest any trades up, okay? Is there a superstar? A lot of people are saying, one that they would do. Oh,
Lillard?
Huh?
Lillard?
Oh, here's one I didn't put out there. OG and Barnes for Jaylen straight up. Whether that's one you would consider. Another one, as far as superstars or superstar for superstar swap, Lillard or Cat. Either one do anything for you.
I'm out on Cat.
A little bit.
Lillard, you got to think about, but man, is he expensive. What's it, $63 million when he turns 30 something, late 30s? Yeah, it's
a tail end. That's true.
It's like it could be a Kemba kind of situation there, and like double the price.
After 2 seasons of it, I wonder what he will look like. That's a good point, Bobby. But that 2-year window, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible. Especially he could complement Jason Tatum better than Jaylen, if you ask me.
If you want to shoot 1 million threes, that's the other thing we got to think about. Is like, as much as I want to see this team go back to defense, you do have to start to think about personnel to play to the style you want here. And I think that was a big issue this year, to give some credit to your guard conversation, John, is that Smart's not a great shooter. Horford had a great year shooting, but come playoff time, didn't shoot well, and he's always out there. White had a great shooting year, but there's some ups and downs there. So the guys on the court who are shooting 53s a game, not the best suited to hit them consistently. And I don't remember where they ended up by the end of the year, but you didn't shoot great after that red hot start there. So you do have to start to think of, like, we talked about all these changes, right? Do you change Joe? Do you change Brown? Do you change the supporting cast? If the first step you're going to say is we're fully committed to Joe, you kind of do have to start to adapt to the style he wants to play, right? Which, again, like, I'm not even going to fight it at this point, but it still shocks me that last year it's defense. And then Joe comes in and it's, we're not going to change much. We have a blueprint here. And then everything changed drastically. And now we're talking about having to shoot 53s a game, and it's all offense. So that, to me, there's a million things we're talking about off-season wise here, but the commitment to Joe and that philosophy, to me, it makes all of this a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
Not to mention the CBA stuff, and
look, it's tricky.
I can't figure out the commitment stuff.
These are all hypotheticals here. We're messing around.
Fun.
But yeah, I'm not, not the people who are taking it super seriously. The what we're really trying to get at is, do you feel like this is a thing you're going to have to do? And if so, you're going to have to get creative, and it's going to be deals most likely like that. Because again, you're not going to try to get cheaper and trade for a 33-year-old, $55 million, $60 million player.
Cheaping out here is going to get you in trouble. It can't be
it's not cheaping out. The point is this. Are you going to look and see whether some team that thinks they could never get a player of Jaylen Brown's caliber unless he was, offered up, throws the bag at you, and you say, okay, this is pretty interesting. I might be able to really reset the table here heading into Tatum's prime years. I might not even be that much worse next year. I might be the same, and who knows? And I'm going to have some assets and some younger people and controllable contracts and flexibility or not. Whether you like any of these proposals, I mean, Jesus, we have no idea like what names might be on the table if they try to do it. I find it very hard to believe that they're just going to do a 1-for-1 though.
The negotiation's going to be interesting too. Like Jimmy said, does he take less than $295? You could say no, but he can't get more than $200 anywhere else. So there is a lot of wiggle room between that you start wondering about when it comes to the money. Because again, the reason you trade him shouldn't be money. It should not be. It should be all the things you mentioned, John, complementing Tatum, sustainability, having a wide range of supporting cast, or maybe even a player that could grow into something that's better than Brown. I think that's going to be tricky to find at this point, but it shouldn't just be money. It shouldn't just be, wow, Jaylen's going to be expensive, let's just trade him. That should not be the guiding principle into this offseason. And you know what? Is it the worst thing in the world if they sign him and kick it back a little bit here, if there isn't a trade? Because we're throwing all this stuff to the table and we don't even know what's going to be out there. If there's nothing worth it out there, it's not the worst thing in the world to just sign him and kick it forward. I think trading him gets a little more complicated down the line, but as much as you don't like it, Jimmy, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to run this back. It's not a bad roster.
It's not a bad roster. It's just
it gets a little
that won't win.
It's not a bad roster, Bobby. You're just simply running it back is not running it back. Running it back is committing to having a Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum duo eating up 70% of your cap for a period of time. So running it back and not making some moves to give yourself a little bit of, whether it's Brown or whether it's some other thing there, you're really putting yourself in a position where you've just decided, this is who I am. I'm a team in the tax every year. And without any ability. So I hope that Brown and Tatum are so transcendently good that they alone, plus whatever I can put around them, which isn't going to be that much because I don't have a lot of ways to do that, is going to be good enough to keep me in contention. If you think that they can contend with just those two guys and spare parts, then supermax them. If you
but that's a question for like 2026.
Yeah, but Bobby, you have to start doing.
But you got to start
late by then.
Nobody operates thinking only how's next year going to be. Like
if you're trying to win a championship,
it doesn't work that way, Bobby. This year you tried to win a championship, and you failed. It's still really hard. They're not guaranteed. You're not talking about putting together a Golden State Warriors super team that would literally have to have 3 injuries to not win. You're putting together a team that might be slight betting favorites to make the finals, but like really pretty friggin' close to a lot of the other people around them. It's not that good a team that that it removes doubt. You're not selling out for it. Like the Bruins sold out for a title that they should have gotten, but somehow didn't, and they're screwed, like you can do it and it's great, but like, we're not talking about going and trading for absolutely can't miss stars. It's a roster that absolutely fully healthy, performing at their highest, could lose in the second or third round again next year. There's no guarantee running it back that this team is a title team. So you have to start looking ahead. You can't, you have to manage. You cannot manage just thinking, what if I win next year? It's not, it doesn't work that way. They have to think about it.
That's why it's key for the organization to address the rest of the team. Like, okay, you want to run it back with these guys, you want to run it back with the core. I'm okay with that, but what about the rest of the roster? Why didn't Joe Mazzulla trust guys in the playoffs, right? Why was he going to a 7-man rotation? Like that stuff has to be addressed. Bob, you say this team needs shooting, and I agree with that too. Well, why was Sam Hauser buried on the bench? Like, what is
that goes back to the coaching stuff. Like,
but at the same time, though, if you're Brad Stevens, though, you have to meet with him halfway, right? Okay, what are you missing here? Like, what did I not do a good job? Okay, I did. Okay, well, do you need something better? Like, he has to figure that out, and then don't even get me started on the rest of the front court, right? I mean, Al Horford's not getting any younger. Robert Williams, we don't know what to expect. We're not even quite sure what he did this season in terms of like his role and who he was compared to what he was
trade might have to be
the year before that. You have to address these guys. You have to address these holes in your rotation that you're not sure are going to hold up for a whole nother run into the finals next year. The backcourt. I mean, look, they got a lot of guards, but I mean, if you can maximize someone like Malcolm Brogdon and get a piece to address the front court, then you do it, right? But you have to figure out what those pieces are and what's his value right now.
Yeah, so, if you want real change, you got to start at the top. You got to trade some of the big dogs if you really don't think you have what it's going to take, and you're looking at the composition of this team and the roster a few years down the road and the way the salary cap works. You can beat around the bush all you want, but I think we all know what they're going to have to do eventually at some point.
So the conversation continues. This
could be a 1-year thing too.
It'll continue to ramp up in the weeks coming up. So it's not going anywhere. But until we start hearing any sort of anything or any real buzz, it's all theoretical. We'll keep jumping back in here just so you know how it's going to go throughout the off season. We'll probably do one show every single week at the very least, with the core group. And then Bobby's going to be jumping in from time to time, doing some one-offs throughout the week as well, talking about various things. So there'll still be a lot of Garden reports. And then when we get to July 1st, and then we get into free agency, and then we get into the draft, things will get interesting again. So we'll have a lot more stuff. We'll be following the buzz. Certainly any breaking news will hop out there. Remind you again, our sponsor, FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/Boston. No sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you sign up today. Follow us at CLNS Media and everybody here on Twitter for their constant updates on all of the content coming out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And look out for updates. We will be probably popping back up with some more live stuff. And while you're at it, if you're into the Patriots, they're doing some OTAs and minicamp. Jump over there. Our new hire, Taylor Kyles, hit the ground running. He's in Foxborough doing work right now.
I watched the show last night, actually.
Tayl's terrific.
He was all smiles
as well.
The guy knows his stuff, man. He's super enthusiastic. Yeah, he's geeked. We might even get Bobby Manning down to Foxborough as well. But for now, we're all about the Celtics. Yeah. We are going to wrap it
from that team, Bobby.
We are going to wrap it, guys.